Tranquility Base here. The Eagle has landed.
Welcome to Storm in the Field, the podcast that explores the exciting intersection of sports, fantasy football, gambling, maybe a little bit of music, and at the end of the day, anything I want to talk about. I'm your host, B.A. Storm. You never know what we're going to get into on our podcast here. Maybe a top 10 list, maybe the week's fantasy football rankings. Who knows? We may have a guest. It may just be me. We're just going to do what we do. So I hope you'll join us on this thrilling ride as we navigate the twists and turns of the mind of Storm. This is Storm in the Field, and we're ready to take on whatever comes our way.
The storm is heading your way.
All right, thank you. Welcome back to Storm in the Field. I'm Bryan Allen. I'm your host. It's been a while since we dropped one of these, and I thought I'd better get on it and get one pushed out. I do want to say a special shout out and thank you to our loyal listeners. We're up to 4. We've got 4 people who have subscribed to the podcast, so growing that number. So, hey, if you're enjoying things, go ahead and share it with your friends and just let them know, hey, it's a good time waste. It's all in good fun and nothing too serious around here, just shooting the bull about some stuff. Giving some thought to having a guest on at some time and have some interaction with somebody, but no such luck for this week, so we'll continue to try and see what that looks like. But welcome to the show today. We're going to have a quick update on my fantasy baseball team, and then we're going to get into a semi-top 10 list. It's actually going to be expanded a little bit more than top 10, but hey, we're going to look at one of my all-time favorite movie franchises, and that is James Bond. So stick around.
Attention high school sports fans, are you an armchair official? You know, the parent or fan who constantly yells at the referees and loves to let everyone know just how bad you think they are. Well, if you think you could do better, then get in the game and prove it. It's time for you to suit up and make the calls where they actually count. Every sport in Texas needs more officials. Sign up today at highschoolofficials.com.
All right, welcome back. We're gonna take a quick look at fantasy baseball. Just kind of update you on where we're at. So last time we were here, we were off to a red hot start. We were in first place through the first 50 games. We were 32, 13, and 5, and looking like we could not be beat. Our offense was pounding the ball, and our pitchers were pretty rock solid. We've cooled off a little bit since then. In our last 50 games, we've gone 28, 19, and 3 for a total record this year of 60 wins, 32 losses, and 8 ties. And we have dropped out of first place. We're in second place now, down 2.5 games. And that all really came about last week. Second place team and I played head-to-head against each other, and I did not have a good week, and he did. So I think he ended up beating me 7-2-1, and that kind of flipped the script. We were up by 2 or 3 games, and now we're out by 2.5. So this week we're playing the managerless team. And so what is that? Well, in a Yahoo league, which is where we have our league hosted, you have to have an even number of teams to draft, and we had an odd number, and so Yahoo kind of ghost drafted a team, and I guess they are ghost managing the team, and you would think that you would completely dominate a team that's not being managed and not being having the starting lineup switched out and whatnot. But so far this week, and with 3 days left in the week, we are 6-2-2. And again, our offense is cooled off. We're struggling a little bit at the plate, and our pitching has been disappointing as well the last couple of weeks. Of course, one of my big dogs who I was counting on this year, Jacob deGrom, hit the injured list early in the season, and then was determined that he's going to miss the rest of the season and maybe the first part of the next year with Tommy John surgery. So that was not only disappointing to my fantasy baseball team, but also my favorite baseball team, the Texas Rangers. So we're adjusting to that, and looking forward to see what we can do without him, and surely wish him the best with his recovery with all that. So fantasy baseball, we're taking a little bit of a dip, but it's a long season, and we made some moves and waiver wire pickups that hopefully will continue to help us out, and we'll keep track and see how this thing goes. Again, I don't want to beat a dead horse, but I am the defending champion of the league, and I've won 2 of the last 3 years. So we're trying to make it 3 of the last 4, and back to back. I've never had any fantasy league. I've never had a back-to-back championship, so this would be a first for me if we can make that move and finish it out. But again, a long season, and we're working our way through it. So there's our fantasy baseball update, and coming up next, we'll get into a little James Bond.
Each year, we spend over $20 million picking up trash along our Texas highways. Messing with Texas isn't just an insult to the Lone Star State. It's a crime.
Don't mess with Texas.
All right, welcome back. I'm Bryan, your host. This is Storming the Field. I'm glad you could join us today on the podcast. We're fixing to get into a special segment been looking at for quite a while. Going to look at one of my favorite movie franchises. I love movies, and just one of those things. I grew up watching movies, and we grew up going to the video store and renting the videos from Showtime Video, and even back before we had a VCR at home, you'd go down there and you'd rent the VCR and take home with you too, and have a weekend full of movies. So that's kind of what we did when we were growing up. But James Bond was always one of my favorite characters and favorite movie franchises, and I don't really know why. I mean, there's tons of those movies. My mom hated them, and I think that's part of the reason that I liked them, is just to kind of get under her skin and aggravate her just a little bit. But I came across a blog post the other day that was all the 27 James Bond movies ranked from worst to best, and this is according to Rotten Tomatoes. So the blog post was actually on Collider.com, but I think the source for all of this is Rotten Tomatoes, which, of course, if you don't know what that is, that's a website that ranks movies and kind of gives all of them a grade. So, hey, what I thought I would do today is hey, we'll start at the bottom, and I don't know if there's a worst James Bond movie. I mean, they're all pretty dang cool. But there are some that are better than others, and hey, some of these rankings I don't know that I necessarily agree with, but I think I do agree with number 27. So the bottom of the list, the 1967 version of Casino Royale. It was, I guess, one of the very first Bond movies to be put out, and it was almost kind of a parody film. It's not. Doesn't fall in line with the other James Bond movies and what that genre looks like. So I have no problem with putting 1967 version of Casino Royale at the very bottom. Hey, so Rotten Tomatoes comes back at number 26 and gives us 1985's A View to a Kill. And I didn't think this movie was that bad. Certainly has some elements that are maybe a little corny sometimes. And it's kind of towards the end of Roger Moore's stint as James Bond. So I don't know if this is number 26 or not, but A View to a Kill. You always think about the Eiffel Tower when I think about View to a Kill. I guess that was probably on the video box. When you were renting it down at Blockbuster, or like I said in Sweetwater, Texas, it was Showtime Video. So I don't know. A View to a Kill comes in at 26. Number 25, going back to 1974, The Man with the Golden Gun. This is one that, if I was choosing to, getting them all the movies lined up and choosing one to watch, I don't know that this is one that I would immediately jump to. Number 25, that's probably about right for that ranking there. Hey, now number 24. This one, I think this is a pretty good movie. 1983's Octopussy. It's a straight up spy movie, and has a lot of action and some good sequences. The thing that I'm not going to argue putting it here because it ends at a circus, which is kind of corny in it of itself. But I don't know. Rotten Tomatoes give it a score of 42%, which I don't know. I thought it was a pretty decent flick. Not sure that I agree with that, but hey, that's all opinions, I guess. Number 23, The World Is Not Enough. Pierce Brosnan. He was a pretty good 007, I thought, but he's going to have several films here in the bottom part of the rankings. But like I said, Rotten Tomatoes score of 51%. 1999 is when The World Is Not Enough was released. The article talks about some poor writing and some kind of uneven storyline, which, hey, I don't know if I can argue with that either. All right, moving on. Again, another Pierce Brosnan outing here, 1997, Tomorrow Never Dies. This was a pretty good movie. Kind of a weird storyline, as far as the plot involves a crazy multimedia tycoon and trying to take over the world. So that was kind of new at the time. When it's a guy that owns a big, almost like CNN or Fox News, that's going to take over the world. And it's funny how it was kind of an out there idea when it first came out, and now you can see how the media can really nearly take over things and certainly sway public opinion and whatnot. So I think it speaks volumes to present day, probably more than it did when it came out. Number 21, again, Pierce Brosnan, Die Another Day, 2002. This was kind of towards the end. I think this was Pierce Brosnan's final James Bond film, and just didn't get the praise and the spotlight that some of the other Bond films have gotten. Probably not as much action as some of the other movies that were coming out as at the same time. I think when you talk about spy movies and whatnot, hey, I think The Bourne Identity was coming out about the same time, and certainly a lot more action in that than what you'd find in a James Bond flick, especially this James Bond flick. So anyway, number 21, Die Another Day. Hey, number 20. I think that this might belong at a lower level. This is one of my least favorite James Bond movies, and I don't know what to say. 1979 Moonraker. Hey, the dude's on a space shuttle, and it's a ridiculous plot and not a good movie. I was very disappointed in Moonraker, so I think it probably deserves to be lower than 20. Number 19, first movie on the list for Sean Connery, Diamonds Are Forever from 1971. Again, if I had them lined up, this is probably not one that I would choose to watch one afternoon, but it comes in at number 19. We're going to take a quick break and then come back and get into some more of the rankings of James Bond. All right, welcome back. We're talking a little James Bond and ranking the James Bond movies, all 27 of them, from 27 to 1, as scored by Rotten Tomatoes. We're nearly out of time today, so what we're going to do is we're going to get number 18 through 11, and then we will save the top 10 list for our next episode. But coming in at number 18, 2015 Spectre. Now this is Daniel Craig flick, and I don't think I ever thought I would have a James Bond favorite, higher than Sean Connery. But dang, when Daniel Craig came on the scene, I mean, he was gritty. He was, I mean, the action was awesome. Of course, it's the most recent James Bond series, with a new actor and whatnot. Man, he is good. He is a good James Bond, and certainly we'll miss him moving forward. He's already done his last Bond movie, and man, he's good. I like this whole series with Daniel Craig, and I think this is a good movie. Probably deserves to be a little higher than 18. Came out in 2015 and had a Rotten Tomato score of 63%. Again, number 17, 2008, Quantum of Solace. The Daniel Craig series of movies. I mean, they're just, to me, they're really, really good. They all tie together. They have kind of a cohesive storyline, and makes it really, really good. So again, just my opinion, I would score any of the Daniel Craigs probably a little bit higher than what we've got them right here. Number 16. Now this is a movie that I would choose to watch one afternoon if they were just laid out in front of me, and I had a choice of I don't know, 4 or 5 to watch. 1973 was a great year. This movie was born. I was born, but this is Live and Let Die. Roger Moore, again, maybe kind of a corny storyline with the voodoo and the weird, I guess, the horrible special effects when it comes to some of the snakes and the rituals that were going on. I mean, it's a little, you can tell it's dated, but it is a good movie. I like it. It's got the voodoo stuff, but then it's got kind of one of the first movies that really highlighted the pimp culture and the Harlem, and then getting down into New Orleans and kind of poked fun at it, but highlighted it as well. So hey, it's a good flick. I enjoyed it. Certainly, Live and Let Die is a classic. Number 15 should absolutely be higher rated than this. For Your Eyes Only, again, one of the James Bond movies that it seemed to be always on TV, on TBS, and I'd stop and check it out every time every time I saw it on, and probably wore out the DVD that I had, watching it over and over. Great flick. Roger Moore, came out in 1981, and it had a Rotten Tomato score of 69%. But this was a great spy movie. Basically, USA and Britain versus the Soviets, and hunting for a sunken ship and submarines and some cool underwater sequences. I mean, it's a great movie. Number 14, Sean Connery kind of started it off, hung it up for a little bit, and then came back in 1983's Never Say Never Again. Really good movie. Love Sean Connery. Glad to see that he came back for one more movie. And I mean, this one, is one of my all-time favorites as well. Number 13, sometimes we forget about Timothy Dalton, but he's another kind of gritty, just rough James Bond, and two of his films I really thought were really good. This one, it comes in at number 13, is The Living Daylights from 1987. I dug that, and I know it wasn't real popular among the critics, and really isn't real popular among a lot of Bond fans, but Timothy Dalton was pretty solid there. Number 12 comes in 1967, You Only Live Twice. Rotten Tomato score of 74%. This is one that I could probably knock down a couple of notches. Certainly, I think you go back and The Living Daylights, I'd jump ahead of it. Never Say Never, I'd jump ahead of it. For Your Eyes Only, I'd jump ahead of it. So I'd probably bump this one down to number 15 and at least, and knock the rest of these up a notch or two. But number 12, You Only Live Twice. And then number 11, probably my favorite Timothy Dalton flick, A License to Kill, 1989. Basically, Bond goes on a revenge binge, and one of his buddies is killed, and hang on because he's coming after you. Man, it's awesome. Really good flick. Rotten Tomato score of 79. Again, probably not one of the more popular ones among Bond fans, but one that I really, really like, and probably worthy of being in the top 10 if I were to sit down and make my list. Well, hey, we're going to save the top 10 for next time, and get into that, as well as probably another update on my fantasy baseball team here in a couple of weeks, and maybe see what else is going, how the summer's going. It's off and running, and it's funny. You look at the calendar, and summer's about half over. We're really getting ready for school to start again. So we may get into that and kind of what's going on around my household, and just kind of get into some other things. So hey, I appreciate you joining me today, and until next time, take care of yourself, be good to each other, and we'll see you soon.
You've been listening to Storm in the Field. If you enjoyed today's episode, you may want to think about subscribing to our podcast on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and any other podcasting platform. Be sure to leave us a review. We love hearing from our listeners. You can also follow us on Twitter to stay up to date on all the latest news and updates. Until next time, keep storming the field.